2 U. Najkraći uvod ikad. Dame i gospodo, ladies and gentlemen, naš panelist, gospodin Krešo Žmak iz Infobipa.
Thank you. Hi, so in the following 4 hours, I will present you the vision of Infobip products, how we transform from products to platform. I have 30 minutes, so don't worry, and we have lunch very soon. So, products is nice, but we evolved into a platform, and I will show you why we did that and why it's important and how to adapt the products, the way of work, the organization, the principles, and the roadmaps to that. But first of all, a little bit of marketing. We also have a startup tribe, which is our startup, same as Bird. But this is just to show you the numbers. Truly global presence. We touched 7 billion people in the last year. So the world population, which mobile phone has been touched by services. With the single product or with the portfolio of products, we could not support these numbers. We needed to evolve into a platform. Just for starters, what is a platform? Basically, a platform is an ecosystem where you have consumers and producers. Where you're a product company or a services company, you have just one user, which is you as a company, and you have many consumers. There is a disbalance on the slide. So a platform is truly when you have multiple, not just your own company, and multiple, of course, the intention is that you have many customers. Platform is not a technology. It's very important. So here, what I would be talking is not about products, engineering, way of work, structure products. The platform is a mindset, first of all, and the platform work is an organizational setup. Bill Gates framed it nicely. I would now read it. Basically, the aim is that everybody within this ecosystem exceeds its value if they would go on there. That's platform, and success of platform must there must be this math when we are talking about platform. There are different platform types, and sorry for this information. There are exchange platform types like Airbnb, Uber, where they don't own actually anything, any of the assets. So basically, they are the largest sharing company without owning any at all. And same thing with Airbnb. The other type are makers. Basically, that's Apple, that's WeChat, Salesforce, the cloud platforms, and we are here part of that. Where you are one of the producers on that platform, and this is how we evolve. So we build stuff, and then we are slowly opening up the platform that others can build. Why the platform? Why it's important to become a platform and not to remain a product company or a services company? Because you can see here the growth in the last, I think, the number of unicorns. If we group them by platform percentage and others, so you can see that there is a huge number of platforms which became unicorns. That's the exponential nature of platforms, because as a platform, you're serving other platforms, you're serving other clients. As those clients are growing, you're growing with them. So we can go our sales force of 1,000, we can serve, let's say, 1,000 enterprise customers. If we have good sales, we can come up to 2,000 customers. If we connect to a company like Uber, which has 100,000 customers, we are immediately 100,000 customers. So that's actually are important, and they are the only way how you can exponentially drive this exponential growth. Besides product-led growth, which is a self-service, which can also have these effects. But for self-service, it's mostly developers, so you can have hundreds of thousands and millions of developers, but the total revenues from that group is significant. It's more in comparison with big platforms that you're serving. Sorry. And this is another thing, how the platforms reacted to the big, let's say, the growth, but also how platforms react to any disturbances on the market. They are the fastest to adapt, they are the fastest to grow back to the pre-crisis number. Again, because you are not focused on specific segments, specific industry, you are serving different different customers, and one of your customers above will do a trick, and then you will grow with them. This is why again super. Sorry. And then finally, coming from the product perspective, we all have backlogs with 500 items, with 1,000 items. We have a company backlog with 10 backlogs per team and so on. The customer needs is growing exponentially. As we increase the number of customers, it goes exponentially, and our capacity is limited by the number of people we have. And we cannot grow the green line exponentially because huge costs, which are especially today are not allowed by CF. So to bridge this gap and to become exponential, we need producers external from the company. That's again the platform. Showed you before, best platforms which might resonate with you are supermarkets, for example, or malls, Arena Zagreb, Westgate, and all the others in the world which started tens of years ago. So that's a platform because they are offering a space where they can bring different types of retailers, and then when you come there, you are buying different stuff. That's one type of one nice example. The other one is Facebook. Facebook grew the number that they get because of that feature, poke. It was, I know, you started, that was the top feature, poke, and then somebody poked you and you would accept the invitation. And that's how the number of end users grew. And poke was developed by, and then you had the reminder, horoscope, and things like that. So basically, external developers building on top of the platform ensured the growth of the platform. And we are trying to do those things, bringing also with innovation. We are limited with innovation capacity as we were discussing, bringing additional developers or companies. They are able to innovate on top of the platform. And then you can take it, of course, to sell it, but also take elements and inject it into your product. Okay, this was about the platform theoretically, what we do and how we transition from a product or product portfolio company into a platform. This is the evolution in which we were earlier, so we are mostly an SMS aggregator. Very soon, people told us that SMS is not, you can send the message, you are some promo, you can reply to that message, and you can send, but it's only text. There are much better channels of communication. You have email, voice, you have now all the chat apps, and the majority of you here will check their WhatsApp provider. That's the strength of these new apps. So we expanded into omni messaging. We added all of those channels, enabling brands to send messages to brands. And then the brand gave themselves, it's nice, but I need the marketing automation tool, I need the chat. So offer it or providing just the channels, I will go with somebody else. That's why we expanded vertically into software. And then the next phase was okay, we expanded and we were using our own sales force and we were limited in our own engineering. We were hitting the limits of the capacity. And then we said we need to become a platform of choice for other platforms. This is how we evolve. This is a natural way. So us starting, and same thing goes with AWS, which was, they were selling books, and then they started retail, and then in one moment they need to do the become a platform for microservice architecture and so on. So you can see with many companies that they adopt very fast this platform model to enable exponential growth. And this is today available on the platform. This is not to showcase, to play smart, to show you how many products we have in the portfolio. And more importantly, behind each of those boxes, we have a product manager, we have an engineering team, designers, product marketing, partners, and so on. And managing a portfolio like this is very, very hard. That's what we needed to adapt and come up with some solutions, how we can adapt to this huge portfolio of products. And we need to do is create an intrinsic motivation to everybody, engineering, products, sales, start thinking about the platform. So each of these products should be API. And we'll see later very shortly in our strategies how we defined, we can transform from a product portfolio like this into a platform play. So that product portfolio comes with a very complex situation here with some ropes, but you can also think about spaghetti, and that's very similar situation. So you have security and compliance, you have multiple teams, you have different stakeholders, you have multiple locations, different departments. So all of that, when you put that against that product portfolio, creates an extremely complex setup. So we decided to approach it in a way that we define some principles of work. Actually, these are the things that we defined platform level, which are scaled down to every individual. Basically, it's the blueprint how we solve the complexity and how we are now evolving from product portfolio into platform. We define what I was saying earlier. We can be agile, we can move so on, but we should have a vision what we want to be, where we want to be. Out of those visions, there are strategies which should be followed to achieve. Because without a vision, without a strategy, you are going in a completely wrong direction. That implied a single roadmap, that implied templates, and which organization needed to be set up in a way to support management from a product portfolio to a platform. As well, 50 plus products. You cannot have just one focus, you have multiple focuses. And the biggest challenge is that each of the products has their own focus. So we then define top initiatives on which we are focused. Now just briefly now go to show you how we define those things. Talking about vision, we want to become the platform of choice. That's a mantra that we taught every engineer, every sales, every finance, every legal employee, every product manager, and so on. But it takes time, but we see the result. Because when you come in front of a customer and you tell them the vision, you can elaborate it, they understand it, and they get it. So we want to become a platform, which is consumers and producers of choice with the experience. So we want to create the aha effect when we are talking with our customers. And innovators, it's important, we talked a lot about it. So we want to onboard innovative companies which will push us forward. This is our vision where we want to be, and that's been put to everybody on the table that needs to follow these visions. And out of these visions, we define the strategies how we are going to achieve that. And sorry for the small words. Platform, API first, very modular, that you don't need to buy the whole stack once, and pick and choose elements of our product portfolio. We want to use it with AI, that's the smart part. We want to be simple, meaning self-service, because again, we need to onboard by hand every single customer, we can onboard 1,000 customers. If we have product-led growth, PLG, and self-service, we can onboard millions. Finally, everything relies on the data, and data is an important strategy of ours, that we design new products or make decisions based on the data that we have. So we are not data-driven, we are deciding based on the data. That's important because data-driven may imply that ChatGPT will define the strategy. No, we want to understand what's the data and then have a human. So vision, then strategy, then towards execution, we define this is the template how you should have. And this is our real case. So we said Q1, and this also shows the agility part. We said, okay, for Q1, you define the strategy and what are the features, how you are going to achieve it. For the rest of the year, don't bother about that, just define the outcome. And as we are working, as we are discovering, you will be filling in the more details about each of these items. And this is a template that each of the product teams received, and they started working on that, and then we have consolidated everything into a single roadmap. Talking about organization, so everything that I said is very nice, it's very theoretical. We have the vision, we have the strategy. Exposed because the sheer amount of people involved here. So you have the core product team, the product manager, the designer, and engineering, and particularly also the product marketing manager. And as you go away from the product, you have pre-sales, tech writers, marketing, partners, and so on. So this is a picture of a single product. Then if you go, you can imagine that this applied to that picture of 50 products. This will explode. So what we defined is basically we are grouping our products into business areas. Within a business, let's say we have a CPaaS, so that's messaging. We have the infrastructure business area. We have a software business area, and we have a telco business area for our. We have a leader. That's very important. That without strong leader which is guiding part of the portfolio, nothing will happen. And then also within individual teams, there must be a strong engineering lead and product. Without that, as I mentioned, it's self-organizing team don't work. Less doesn't work because nothing happens. Nobody is responsible for the delivery. Nobody is making the technical decision. Nobody is making the design decision. So there must be a leader on all of the levels. Requirement area, that's a product level. Again, same setup as on the business area. For the top initiatives, we have defined strategic teams. That's what Karl-Heinz was showing, the value streams. Team which we call mission-based team, where we have a combination of product engineering, partners, product marketing, support, pre-sales, and they are working on one of the top initiatives. Let's say we have a WhatsApp mission-based team, so we have a target of $700 million that we need to achieve, and the mission team is working on that. Everybody is working on that single initiative with one very strong leader driving. That's for all the top company initiatives. We have around 6 or 7 related to products. We know who is leading it and how we are set up. There are multi-department teams. So we are, and everybody can contribute. So we are listening to everybody. Everybody has the same level of autonomy depending on their knowledge and we are not just senior engineers. No, the market has an exceptional idea. Okay, we'll do it. He or she will lead it. And that's how we want to do it. And I mentioned single leader, so we are not formal. We don't have a race matrix for everything, but we know who is the leader. And then the leader can set up the way of work within the area how they want, being it Kanban, being it agile, being it safe, and so on. But we know who is the leader who we are going to ask about money taking. Yeah, and this is, let's say, the focus initiatives. So these are the product top initiatives. So you can see we have 4 of them. Conversational everything. So there is this evolution of super apps, WhatsApp and Viber becoming WeChat. So you can do everything there. Everything is based on data, so we can really start using our data. AI, as mentioned, is coming, so we need to invest a lot. And APIs, basically the platform implies that we are serving other platforms. We are serving Google, we are serving Salesforce, we are serving Uber, and all of them want to connect to us by APIs. They don't want someone in, I don't know, Salesforce manually opening account for their 100,000 customers. No, we want to have the API. So one of the characteristics, and you saw it in the strategies, is API first approach. So basically this, I think this ends this story. So when becoming a platform, we define the vision, we define the strategy, we define the roadmap templates for everybody, and we set up the org to support that. And finally, all of that we define, okay, these are the 4 focuses, we will invest most in these. They are prioritized. What happens, we have one of the initiatives going across multiple requirement areas or business areas. Then it's, fighting who's going to win, who's to give the reason. We have created a very simple prioritization matrix. We have a scoring system 0 to 1,000, and 900 is reserved for these 4 top initiatives. Whoever gets assigned the 900 initiative is prioritized, and they need to work in that. No excuses. What happens is that we have an inflation of 900 initiatives, but we are trying to solve it out. So it's not a bulletproof system, of course. But it's working, actually. We've been able, last year we switched to this model, and we were pretty successful this year as well. We are. Okay, and just shortly about the future, we mentioned. So this is a 1997 great flood impression of AI taking over flood, or whatever we call it. And this is 97. Chess was already, Deep Blue was beating, Kasparov. Go was playing, and science, hardware were Everest for them. The reality is that there is not a flood, there is a tsunami. So AI has taken over everything, and I mentioned it earlier. We have two initiatives. You can improve internal processes, you can improve external processes, and we all should adopt here. There is one good thing is that there was in TechCrunch there was an article saying that engineers will be replaced like matter of authors, but product managers survive, which was quite a positive thing for all of us here. Hopefully that will happen. Because AI is, ChatGPT is great, but you need to control it, you need to make decisions, and you need to train it, you need to tailor a product around it, which is why product managers might survive. And then same thing applies to our own portfolio. So this is once again our portfolio. What's happening now that we have an AI being injected everywhere. For internal call center stuff, you can now, instead of an agent filling in a form after the call, AI can do it. Routing to the best agent, AI. NLP within the chatbot, AI. Content generation for marketing campaign, AI. Segmentation of customers for the best next buy, churn prediction within the products, but also on the internal processes side, there is lots of AI already being done. Again, I mentioned writing, reviews of people, type in the keywords, ChatGPT writes you an article, which you would need 3 hours to do. Predictions of the next best buy for our sellers, performance evaluation of the sellers, what segmentation of our database, what is the platform, what is the wholesaler, enterprise, and so on. Even finance reports, so there is definitely AI flood is coming and taking over a lot of stuff, so we need to adapt. And this brings us to the end of the presentation, so here for your questions.
Hey, so one question. You grew significantly, like exponentially in the past couple of years. If you would need to name only one thing, the biggest obstacle of such a big growth, what would that be? In terms of organization, people, processes, what you said.
What happened was the let's say the culture, and we are a startup, and we were perceiving ourselves as a startup. We shifted into more of an enterprise setup, which implies following all the processes, hierarchies, deeper hierarchies, lower way of delivery, too many meetings. Challenge that we are fighting today, that we should startup mentality, data management, be super agile, super. I would say that the biggest challenge, which comes also with the culture change, because we used to deliver, we delivered our SaaS in a 4-month period. Now we need for some smaller things significantly more. So we are now going back to producing some reorgs and culture shaking significantly.
Another question?
You talk about AI in the products that you guys deliver. Do you see any AI in usage in the product space, writing requirements, refining requirements, setting up the products themselves and driving them forward?
We didn't that we were using it for docs, writing the services. We find it, and then we use it for it, not for product definition and discovery. We are still relying on our people and talking with the clients. When talking with the clients, Karl-Heinz was mentioning, so you don't need to talk and ask them what they want. You need to ask them what are their needs, opportunities, and then understand what they want. Because they ask them, you tell them we need more horses. And AI might come up with this solution that if you ask AI what should be the best thing to improve the product, they will, or how I can improve carriage, they will say add more horses. So AI is still on that level that it cannot think differently and tell you you need a car, you need a different one.
Veliki pljesak za Krešu, vas molimo, great applause. Margaretu molimo da nam se pridruži. Rating Krešo s obzirom na content usefulness, please. Thank you. He rates the energy and articulation delivery. Saturday.
I first thought this was going to be real time, which would be pretty not so good. So I'm Margareta. I'm very glad I'm doing this in English because I was going to say I'm going to do this in broken Croatian. Apologize for. I'm with Google, but the part of Google that typical user doesn't really know about, or most of the users don't know about, it's Google Cloud, and it's 10% of our revenue, and it's the part that's actually bringing revenue as opposed to the ads nowadays. And I'm in. Let me go back much. Okay, good, good. So yeah, I'm here. I'm here actually in on vacation in a real terms because we have a 3-month-old. So I'm gonna sleep tonight. Uh, and I apologize upfront if I'm not making sense and not coherent because I'm not sleeping too much. Um, at Google, what I do at Google is startups. I mean, it's essentially an integrated group. We have engineering, product, we have marketing, and it's basically the IT of Google, where we develop the products for ourselves, products and services, and then also for our clients. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our approach to product development and our approach to operations as well, and how we think about culture and about products. It's going to be very similar to what Joshua spoke about. Maybe you read the book or it really works. Uh, Judge yourself. And please do, let's make this agile as well and very iterative and interactive. Please do ask me questions at any point. You can just me and ask questions. We can do it that way. Um, so, about Google's approach to innovation, typically what clients ask us very often is how does Google innovate? How do you come up with Gmail? How do you come up with Workspace? And is it something that can be planned or something that can be taught? The way we don't really have a magic formula, but the way we tend to think about it is that innovation comes with culture. They go hand in hand and have one without the other. Otherwise, you're kind of just doing it. And a couple of core facets of our culture that really underpin the innovation that happens at Google is the focus on user. And many of you will remember times when we had back in 24, when Gmail was just starting. Many of you will remember Hotmail and Yahoo, HTNet, Hotnet. Um, so you had many email clients at that time as well. A lot of them in the market, and Google was no different. What made Gmail different is that we really focused on user, um, and we thought really hard. We thought that the product that was at the market at the time was very limited and it was not intuitive at all. You had email where you remember that every couple of hundred emails you had to delete the emails or delete the text because you simply didn't have enough storage. So Google came into market instead of a couple of megabytes, we offered a couple of gigabytes, and it really propelled the usage of email. And now you have a product which is a top product in the market, used by millions and millions of users. Um, the second facet of this culture is thinking 10x and not percent. So, if we're going to build autonomous cars, let's build a car that's going to operate with the press of a button, and you can basically and you'll get to your destination. Um, it's, simply put, it's really thinking how do we improve things 10 times as opposed to just incremental changes. Then, and of course, I'll more about how you actually what the journey looks like and how you actually get there. But the core notion here is this vision of how do we get to 10 as opposed to how do we make an incremental change. And this, when you trickle this down to, there's going to be a lot of slides which are very letter heavy, so don't mind them and don't read them. I'm just going to talk to them. But if you drill down this culture to the very engineering level of how our engineers actually develop products, and what is our approach to DevOps, basically we call it site reliability engineering. And what it really means is the ethos of Google or Google Cloud. Google is a company that was built on cloud, and it's the cloud native company, as cloud native as it gets. So we had to, as we developed and as we innovated, we had to build products that were reliable and that were on all the time. And basically, over the past 20 years, we developed this approach to DevOps, which at its core has reliability. And it's at the core of everything that we do. So basically, um, it's a set of principles, I guess, and methods is the easiest way to explain it, or set of beliefs that we employ in everything that we do. And as Krista said, it's not something that then deploy on engineering, but across the whole company. So finance works this way, marketing works this way, I work this way as well in the operations. And a couple of core principles here is accepting failures as normal. So things that we do, and I don't necessarily agree with it all the time because it's very much innovation culture. But what we do is you have blameless, we all huddle in the room, um, just discuss what went wrong without blaming anyone. Um, Reducing organizational silos. So really making sure that you don't have engineering and then you have marketing and then you have finance, but everyone works together and everyone has ownership of the product. So collaborating, sharing experiences, sharing knowledge, sharing. Um, then the third would be gradual. So really, one chunk at a time, step at a time, implementing gradual changes, and one tweak here, one tweak there, and making sure that everything at the end of the day is very reliable. Tooling and automation is very important there. You have to base it on a reliable tool that's going to help you operate and develop software. Then at the very end, make sure to measure everything. Only improve that you measure. If you don't measure it, it's not going to get improved because nobody's going to take ownership for it. Um, so this culture of site reliability engineering, or culture of agility and kind of DevOps that we employ, is something that we also try to teach our clients. And as we sell, we don't really only sell our products, we only sell our services, but we sell our culture. And we try to collaborate and partner with our clients to also improve their operations. Um, and the journey, again, referencing Prescio because it's very much his presentation very much resonated to what I was going to say. Um, as Prescio said, it's not only about technology; it's about the platform, it's about the work and making sure that you have everyone on board. So as we go to market and as we sell to our clients, um, we try to bring on board a couple of principles. So having a common platform, making sure that there are no silos in the organization, everybody's kind of huddled together and we work together towards the same goal. This cloud culture of agility, automation, of gradual improvements, data-driven culture, data AI, new business model, security, and scalability. So are only a couple of principles that we try to kind of bring on board when we talk to our customers. You can ask, so what? Why does this matter, and why do you even bother? In 21, Google published a report, which basically looked into these ways of operating and try to answer the question of, so what does it really matter, and can we improve something in changing the way we work? And you can see that the numbers speak for themselves, but you can see that you can improve the productivity. You can get faster time to the market. You can decrease the time from commit to deploy, and you can also increase the revenue and decrease the cost. So a match made in heaven. Basically, you can get everything by changing your culture. Only that it's something that's very difficult, and it's actually a very challenging part to do. So our mission, something that we've set for ourselves in the way that we not only develop our products, but also work with our clients and ultimately sell to our clients, is to help customers not only transform, but also not only digitally transform their business, but help them grow better and help them grow faster. And this is through implementing a different kind of culture and a different way of work. Um, and again, we focus on a number of different industries, from retail to healthcare to financial services to telcos, and again, solving different use cases in different industries. Um, my my scope is telco, and I work for. I basically lead the strategy for Google Cloud Telco globally, where we, day to day, we would think about where do we want to get in 5 years, which other telco do we want to sell to, and what key problem are we solving for them. And the other part of the presentation, the next part, is going to talk more to that. So how do we actually solve this for the telcos in the world? I first I thought that we were all from HD, but I don't think we are now. Right? If I can have a show of hands, who here is from Hate? Okay, great. Microsoft? No one? Next time. Okay. Still, I need to be careful what I speak. So, and guys from Hate, please also ask any questions if and we'll continue to update. But basically, the way we work with telcos is we look at the market and we look at the challenges that the CEOs have, in the telco industry. So in terms of the market, revenue is shrinking, and we still with telcos we still didn't get to the level of growth that we had pre-COVID. It's still changes. Um, CapEx is immense. So we're talking about billions and billions of dollars that's being invested in networks. And at the same time, with the backdrop of increasing network demand, so you have more and more users who want more and more volume, TikToks of the world, YouTubes of the world, where you are shipping video and you need a lot of data that's being transferred on the network. And the last point is actually, which was shocking to me, customer experience. So Net Promoter Score for telcos, you don't have single telco in the world that has NPS above 50, which is really disappointing when you think that NPS typically around 80 is considered good. Below 50 is really, really bad. So these are the challenges that the industry has. And then when we talk to the CEOs in telco, a couple of problems that they are trying to solve is this: how do they innovate to create new revenue streams? How do they leverage their data? And they have immense amounts of data. How do they leverage that to create new products and services? How do they improve customer experience? How do they again leverage AI to improve customer experience? How do they how can they predict what their customers actually want? And then if you go to the network level, how can you optimize the investment in network so that for less dollars you can get more? Or how can you make your network virtual so that you don't actually need to build stuff, but you can create a virtual network which is more cost effective. We work with a number of telcos, and I said this goes from core networks to customer experience, network evolution, and then also creating new revenue streams of monetizing, monetizing different solutions that they have. And our approach to working with telcos again goes back to our ethos, which is all about the collaboration. Bring everyone on board, work together towards the same goal, because what you're going to achieve in working that way is going to be so much greater than what you can achieve individually. So we have a number of partners across different spheres of the industry. So whether that's Nokia, network equipment partners, network analytics partners, GSI, edge ecosystem that we work together with to innovate and bring the telcos of tomorrow. Uh, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this presentation. Basically, the case studies of that we did with different telcos. Vodafone is quite important here because what we did with Vodafone is basically took all of their data globally, so everything about the customer, brought it to cloud, and we're basically partnering with them today to analyze the data, process the data, and come up with new products and solutions for them. So it's industry first global data platform. Another customer that's very important to us is Bell Canada. So, and this one is crucial because it was the very first implementation of Google Google Distributed Cloud on basically network on the Google Distributed Cloud. So first implementation of cloud of network. Um, and then the final one is DT. Deutsche Telekom, many will be familiar with this one as well. We're partnering with DT, and it's basically a partnership that's 10 years toward the future, which is what are we going to do for 10 years, and how is the telco going to look at the end of this journey. But basically, we're partnering with DT across a number of different areas or domains, being it a core network, network analytics, or also customer experience as well, where we're helping to analyze the data, apply AI and ML to come up with new products and solutions. So with this, I come to the end of my presentation, where I'll take any questions that you have. Any questions? You can ask about anything. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I can speak to a couple of slides. Let's see.
I'm sorry. Questions, guys?
I think everybody's just hungry.
No,
No?
I think everybody's just shocked. I don't know just why.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, when you have an infrastructure business, it's really hard to create I would say, a strong user experience because, especially in telco, so it means that you provide the customers with internet, like streaming, opportunity, broadband. And that's basically it. Maybe as we just only think that's one of the reasons telcos don't have a strong NPS. So how basically can we improve that? Because there is that much enough that like we can innovate. It's not restricted, but you're already responding to their needs. So what more can you do for them?
Okay, got it. I think yes, there's the quality of infrastructure. I think that's you need to provide, I guess, basic functionality as a telco, which is the customer needs to be able to connect and connect at a certain speed. But there's also part which is customer experience, which is how does customer experience you when they deal with you, and what is the customer journey and end to end. So you know when I walk into the store and somebody greets me, hello, how is your day, and doesn't try to just sell you something, but tries to solve your problem. So it's kind of this little tweak to how you create a customer journey and how you can delight the customer on every single step of that journey, I guess. And this is not easy, right? And it requires a little bit of thinking, but more importantly, it requires also a little bit of dollars behind it. So it's it's a very complex problem to solve, and at the end of the day, the resources are limited. So it's always, I have infrastructure. How do I provide the basic functionality? But how do I also improve the customer journey? I don't know if this answers your question, but it's a tough nut to solve.
Yeah, but I understand that. I just want to say the struggle is real because you're already providing and then you're building everything else, maybe building that core product so beside that. Yeah.
On the second question. Guys, you, the proactive ones, can you sit up front, please?
Okay, just one question regarding the telco and let's say new values that you can offer to customers. It's something similar that you decide at the beginning of your Google to offer to users of email. Just let's say huge storage, something similar. I just wanted to check with you if there's something can be similar to that value offered to the telco. What
Yep.
is from your experience?
And I think is your question about B2B? So what do we offer to telcos as our customers, or what can telcos offer to their customers as B2C?
And user.
To end users. Okay, so there's a lot about all the usual keywords. So 5G, AI, Internet of Things. So offering better connectivity, better speed, but also offering new types of products, so something that wasn't available before. If you have faster speed, you can do a whole host of different things on 5G that you weren't able to do before on other generations of network. And new business models, new revenue streams that you can offer to customers. One example of that is, for instance, the Internet of Things. So, offering the connectivity of your smart home or all of your appliances that previously the network wasn't able to kind of support that kind of connectivity, whereas nowadays you can offer those use cases as well.
Connectivity can be even faster.
Yes, always
Thank
faster.
you. Thank you.
Another question? Yes.
Sorry, out of box question, just to have another question for you.
We like this at Google. You
Yeah,
can ask.
Google is, let's say, known or notorious for killing off the services, actually some user base. Can you comment on that? What?
You mean internally, our services like massage and
No.
hairdressers, or
I mean, like B2C services that are actually for usage services. How does the company culture or strategy reflects on that? Why is that? Can you explain from the Google company?
if I understood well, some of the B2C services that have been cut because Google has decided that the product didn't have the purpose anymore, kind of yeah, okay. Well, I think Google, one of the core facets of the culture is its collaborative approach to everything and to the next thing, right? And what you get when you mix those two things is you get a lot of ideas, a lot of things that you can work on and focus on, and a lot of products that Google is innovating on. And this is something that Google is famous for, and especially Google X, which is part of Google that works exactly on this, the 10x thinking. But there's also a gazillion things, and obviously the resources, both in terms of money, the time, the people that you have are limited. So, there's the typical process that you have in every big tech, every corporate, where you go through. Okay, so what are the things that I'm working on? What are my strategic priorities? What's my budget? And what can I actually focus on? And what needs to be either the prioritized or not. So some of the services that when I guess if you were I don't know if you're referring at a time Google was trying to build a social network as well, which one thing that was cut. Um, I think you as you go along on the journey, you as every company, prudent company would you make the assessment of things that you're investing in. don't have the return on investment, it's something that's not competitive anymore. And maybe in the case of the social network, we had Facebook, we had WhatsApp as well, and Instagram, and you name it. And at that point in time, it was just not prudent for Google to continue developing. The reason why Google is notoriously known for killing products is also because our user base is billions of users. So, and especially the B2C part of Google, you have the whole world, which is the user. And when you deploy a product and you push it to billions of users, and then everybody knows about it, right? And then the same way everybody knows when it's being canceled.
Thank you very much.
Thank
A
you.
big applause for Margareta. And please continue applauding for our next speaker who will introduce himself.
Well, good afternoon. Yes, in a minute. I'll introduce myself. My name is Scott Mulvar, and I have a fairly unique story, maybe compared to some of you. Most of you know someone who you said goodbye to because they went to America. Well, I had people in America that said goodbye to me so that I could come to Croatia. So that makes my story a little bit different, and it makes it a bit unique. And I also think that it gives me an interesting amount of perspective for living here, for working here. I got on a plane and I didn't know a single person here. And I tell people my first friend was Poštar, which is funny, I know, because this is not normally a great person, but he taught me a lot of Croatian words that I can't repeat here. And he taught me a lot about my neighborhood and who was sleeping with who, and you can imagine. So I got a lot of Croatian culture very early on, but now I have been here working in three different companies with Mate. First in trade with the electric bikes, then in Rimac Technology, working as an automotive OEM, and then now I'm working in Bugatti, and we are understanding what it means to keep track of our customers and who are our customers through this journey. And most of you have read in the press and you know what's gone on, where the company has exploded into different spaces, into different places, and all along the way, the customer has changed dramatically, and we have tried to keep up with that customer. So my talk today will not be specifically on how Rimac works or how any internal stuff works, but how we as product people work inside of our organizations to keep track of our customers. And I observed something here, this term customer drift. What I experienced when I was doing research was that what we think the customer is saying, doing, thinking, they're not. They're in another world. They're past us. And they're annoyed by something that we think is super cool, or they want something that we didn't notice. And one time early in my career, I was tapped to talk to the customers and ask them what they wanted at a certain software company in Redmond, Washington. And they said, please don't ship any more software. Please just fix your bugs. And that's what they really wanted. And that's what the customer really wanted. So my presentation today will be about customer drift and how do we observe it and how do we reconnect with our customers. And it doesn't matter what kind of product person you are, what company you're in, where you're working, you can reconnect with the customer and make a big difference. And that's what I want to talk about today. So let's see if this works. I want to talk to you about a disease. It's a terrible disease that affects all product people. And you say, what disease? Come on, there's not a disease. We already went through that. We had a big pandemic. No more diseases. But really, there is a disease that affects product people, and it's specific and emotional and all of these things. And this disease is actually your experience. You have experiences, and your mom and dad and somebody came out and told you, get some experience, go learn some things, go work at this job, that job, have a couple of jobs that are terrible, and finally you'll get a good one, and then you'll have experience, and that will be amazing. But what happens with our experience is that we start relating things we're doing now to things we did in the past. And we take the things we're looking at in front of us now, and we say, I remember 2 companies ago, it worked like that. Or 10 years ago, it worked like that. And I did a little thing a while ago, and I know exactly how to do that. And then we as product people say, all right, let's go do that because it's cheap, because it's easy, and because we're tired. And we're all tired. And so we cheat, maybe. We cut corners. And the product people have all around the world. It's not unique to Croatia. It's not unique to cars. It's all around the world. And why do we have that disease? It's something to do with brain science. So in our brains, we make shortcuts. And our brain says, I don't really want to think about that again. but I did it last time, so I'll make a connection to that old thing and I'll put it to this new thing, and then I'll give you an answer, and then your brain doesn't have to. You go, okay, good enough. I have a lot of stuff to do. I don't want to do this. And the brain's tricking you into not actually validating what you're doing, not actually asking a customer, what should we do? Not actually asking anyone around you on your team, is this a good idea? Doesn't matter. I need to get some stuff done, and I need to get it done now. And so I'll just take the shortcut. So we all have this disease, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to diagnose you. I'm not a doctor, but I think we all have this disease, and it has to do with change. The amount of things that have changed, even since COVID till now, is outrageous. So AI has come up here. A lot of things have come up. The world is different every year, exponentially different. The things that were okay in technology a year ago are not okay. The things that we deliver to customers in a car, they were okay 5 years ago. They are not okay now. And the 0 to 60 record for supercars, hypercars, it changes every year. Before it was 6, 7, 10, 20 years between these huge leaps we have in technology advances. But right now, the change rate is amazing. So whether you're in telco, whether you're in shipbuilding, the change rate that you're experiencing and your customers experiencing is amazing. And because of that, our experience from the past, not that useful. And our customers are actually feeling this if you now take your product hat off for a second, just be a regular person on the couch at home. Are you overwhelmed by change? Has there been a lot of things that have changed in your life, especially since COVID? Bills are changing, prices are changing, currencies are changing, politics are changing. It's all happening much faster, and we're exhausted as customers. You think about your experience as a customer, and it can be really exhausting. But if it's exhausting for you and you're a product person, imagine how exhausting it is for a person who doesn't understand how products work, who doesn't understand how things are built. Sometimes I'm in a shop or a place and I see something and I go, that's terrible. And about 10 people sat around in a room and agreed that that was a good idea. And you've been in those meetings, right, where you're like, I don't know, it's terrible, but we don't have any better choices. All right, it's okay. But you experience something and people just give up. I don't think they even tried. I think they were tired, or it was Friday afternoon, or it was time for kava, and it was just like, okay, done, I'm done. So our customers are feeling. The other thing is that our customers are overwhelmed with everything, overwhelmed with life. I get the pleasure of interviewing people from mountain bikers to OEM, of car manufacturers to now Bugatti owners. And I love this part of my job. It's amazing. But in all parts of life, in all economic sectors, people say the same word, overwhelmed. People are overwhelmed with everything, with life, with bills, with inflation, with politics, with everything. People are just overwhelmed. Maybe for the first time ever, more is not better. More is not really better. And we as product people think more is better because that's how we get our bonuses, and our raises, and our promotions, and our numbers. And the customers say they're overwhelmed. And maybe they just want us to fix the bugs, or maybe they just want us to deliver something solid. So the other thing that I understand from feedback with customers is that less is more. There's some ownership that customers feel on our goal that we're supposed to police this. As product people, as people making decisions, we're supposed to decide that less is more. You see a lot of this content on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, like, take care of yourself, self-care, stop doing things, stop doing less. But what about those of us who decide what people actually get? Are we supposed to guard what people get? Tell them simple is better. Take 2 features out of that product. I mean, that's a hard thing to say. If you're in one of your product meetings and you say, actually, guys, I'm going to cut the sprint in half because we reach complexity already, or a customer has enough. That's a brave move. It might be a career limiting move for you to say, we don't need any more features. But really, who has used Microsoft Word lately and said, man, all the features I need are there. All the features I need. I mean, when you start digging through menus of software, when you start digging through the options of this, you're trying to talk to the bank, like, do you really need this much complexity? So people I talk to, especially on the Bugatti side, especially the ultra high net worth people, they said to me that we as product people have lost our discipline. A multi-billionaire person say to me in an interview, it's your fault that we have all of this complexity because you didn't actually say no to something and you didn't protect me, the customer, from something that I didn't need or that I didn't want or that I wasn't supposed to have. And that was hard to hear. And it doesn't mean that this particular person is not going to buy a car, but it means that they actually are thinking that somebody here in our product teams should be doing a job, and we're not actually doing that job. And so I never thought of it that way. I never took it as my responsibility to be the gatekeeper to the complexity or the overwhelming feelings of the customer. That's what I heard when I interviewed people. And I hate to say it and I hate to cast judgment. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I'm not here to tell you what to do. But we did this. You know, we have structured our organizations, we have structured our companies, our promotions to complexity. If we deliver something cool and big and it gets good revenue year over year, we get rewarded. But what does the customer get? Get something better? Does he get something more useful? Does he get something more simple? Or does he just get more? And is more better? Our customers are saying no. Our customer said, if you made the thing simpler that I dealt with, that would be better. And we worked on Nevada for a long time on the infotainment part. How many of you have some kind of CarPlay, navigation, blah, 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 in your car that you don't use? Raise your hand, don't use. Most underused feature in a car is this infotainment, and somebody along the way spent €1,000 on the option. And it's terrible. And I have 2 cars and I don't use these infotainment systems at all. So when it came around to talking about Nevada and how will we do it, we said, nope, we'll make it as simple as possible. And we actually found that users buying cradles from their phones, from the T-Sock, like everyone else, and sticking it right on the dash of the Bugatti and putting their iPhone there, just like that. So you're selling 2 to 7 million euro cars, and those customers are having the same exact problem with their phone as you have in your Volkswagen. Why? Because all of that trash in the middle of the dash is not useful. So that's my job. That's how I reduce complexity. But what's your job? You know, you guys have something where you have tension of complexity and you need to reduce it. And there's a customer somewhere saying, please, give me less. I would really love less. So think about that. What do we do about it? You know, I don't want to come here, give you a problem and then not solve it. So what do we do? I have a couple steps for you and a couple steps maybe. First thing I would say is the other term that comes up in all my customer interviews is exclusivity. Every customer wants to feel exclusive. Every customer wants to feel special. You think about the products that you buy that are really special, that are really good, that are really useful, you felt exclusive. And we have a lot of products that don't really feel exclusive. You know, it doesn't matter if you make the lowest salary or the highest salary, you still have the same iPhone. It doesn't matter if you make the lowest salary or the highest salary, you still have a car that has 4 wheels. So how do we make people feel exclusive, even in something that's very, very basic? That's our challenge. Second one I want to talk to you about is delight. I heard this word here a couple of times. This has been ingrained into me from US schooling and such, is that customers want to be delighted. And we used to say in the US and a couple companies, we need to make features that are delightful. Do you have any of those? And can you make some of those? I'm a car nerd, and so Volkswagen came out with this new van called the ID Buzz. You may have seen it. It's like electric version of the old Volkswagen hippie van. But inside, there are little tiny logos and little tiny graphics of the car stamped into the plastics all over the place. And there's no practical purpose for them. They would never make the requirements cut. They would never be scoped into a sprint. They're delightful. And every reviewer who reviewed that car said, look at all the little tiny things stamped into the interior. And everyone counted them and came out with a total count at the end of the review. And Volkswagen got like 25% more interest in that vehicle from those reviewers because of some silly little thing that they included into the product. So the challenge is, where are the delighters? Can you make some? Can you find some? Can you value those? From Tresha's example, can I give those higher points if they're delightful? features, can I weight them higher even if they don't have an impact? So something for you to think about. And the third is simplicity. Fierce reduction. Like if we were as fierce at reducing things as we are at adding them, you know, if we were really going on around behind our feature lists and cutting some of the things that don't work. I know Google's good at this. They cut stuff that's not being used. But Microsoft's terrible at this. All the stuff in Word 95 is still with me here now, whether I'm using it or not. And we have a principle in our house where, you know, when somebody brings something home, we try and get rid of something also so that we're not constantly taking extra stuff into our house. What if we did that in our products? What if we Okay, so those are some things for you. On the corporate side, it's going to be harder. Like I can't change your cultures for you, and many of your cultures are seasoned and established. It might be harder to change, but here's some ways to think differently. So first thing is, really, can you ignore your experience? Like, is it possible to short circuit your brain and say, yeah, I could do that simply, but I'm going to take some time and think about it. That's the difference. That's really it. You have a lot of work to do. You're sitting at your desk. You want to go home. You want to go to Kava. You want to go to lunch. But could you just pause on something, ignore your experience, and really go ask the customer? Really go do some research and go that extra mile to understand if there's something there that's not what your brain is telling you to do. The second one is, can you grow in empathy? Empathy is always used, which is, you know, to feel how somebody else feels, to imagine walking a mile at somebody's shoes, this kind of thing. Our cultures in corporations do this, to bring the empathy of the customer journey into what we're doing. Do any of you guys bring these customer journeys or customer experiences into your product reviews? Anybody? Like, do you talk about the customers by name? Do you refer to anybody as MVP, VIP, somebody like that you would talk about? In Bugatti, we have 2 or 3 guys that are the top customers, and people name drop them, and that's fantastic. But it really has changed our perspective because we took some customer interviews, we categorized them, we listened to them, and then we sat there and we said, these are the guys that we really want to make the car for. These are the guys we want to delight when we're done. And so when somebody says a particular name in a meeting, we stop everything and we have that conversation. People want to delight. If my car was parked, with the doors open for 2 weeks because it's a showpiece, how would that change how the battery drains? How would that change how when friends come and see it? Try and walk a mile in the customer's shoes. And you guys know this, but customers don't do what we expect them to do. They actually do completely different things than we expect them to do. And when we product people design something, we realize, oh, wow, I never thought of that because I don't live a life like that person. Some of these owners of Bugattis, the car flies more than it drives. The car goes on a plane more times and more hours than it drives on a track or than it drives on the street. So what does that mean? You have to put a tie down on each corner of the car so that it can be attached to a plane, so the plane can fly the car, so the guy can drive the car on the track. Now, because none of the cars that we drive have that problem. But we only heard that because we asked customers, what are you doing with it? How is it working? Where did we fail? And we learned that from that customer. Next one I would say is chase the delighters. If you're a manager, can you reward this? I have a small team of people that I give a prize to for the delighter. If you can come up with a delighter, we will give you a cash prize. Like, that's step one for what I can do. I would love to reward beyond that. But even more, I would like someone who comes up with a delighter to be able to go home to their family and take everybody out to dinner and have a good Friday night because they did a good job. So for me, that's worth a couple €100 out of my budget, out of any budget, that if someone can come up with a delighter, I will reward them. But people aren't going to do that. Give them some motivation. That's the third one. And then the last one, I guess I would say, is measure well. How many of you have any kind of customer polling service of your success? Telcos, I think you do, right? But it's hard, yeah? Others have any customer metrics in their measure of success? Okay, some back here, some back here. Please add this. It's not that hard. It's step one. figure out if what you did actually works. And if it doesn't work, ask more people. And you'll find, I found in every job that I've had, you'll find one or two people who will spend hours with you and give you amazing feedback for free if you'll just ask them. Go find those top guys. In Drape, we had two guys who rode the most kilometers, and we called those guys up. One was a 75-year-old man in Switzerland. It was amazing guy feedback, and the other one was a guy in Zagreb who was riding it back and forth for Global. And both had completely amazing feedback in completely different scenarios. I bought them a coffee and a dinner, and that's all it cost me to get 2 years of feedback, to get 2 years of product development. So, guys, it's simple to ask people, and if we measure it, we'll do it. But if we don't measure it, we won't do it. Okay, so I finalized my story and then opened it up to you. I started by saying I am not my customer, but through these things, I'm on the same journey. I'm not above it. I haven't figured it out. I'm still there. I say I'm becoming a customer. It isn't free. And in our organization, it took the wisdom of executive management to understand that we needed this. It took the reinforcement of it by hiring the people to do it, to say that the customer journey is really important. Measuring it is important. Doing it is important. And I know you guys can't magically change your organization, but I think that you'll find that you'll have more success, and overall you'll have more revenue, and you'll have healthier careers and healthier people around you if we would become more like our customers. So I'll switch it over to questions at this point, and you can ask me questions about Bugatti Rimac, you can ask me questions about this, it's all.
It's all for grabs.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Who do we start with?
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. It was really nice. I want to ask you, how do you reach your customers today? Do you visit them? How do you interview them?
So in our case now, right now, currently for Bugatti, these customers don't like to show up places and do things. They're very high net worth people. So usually it's a Teams call or something from one of their locations, which we moderate and record, and we do it that way. But for some of the other products where you can get a hold of normal people, we've hosted events, we've hosted dinners, we've asked people to come to places, or in some cases we've gone to things. Like for mountain bikes, there are 2 or 3 events a year where all the mountain bikers show up. There's something in Slovenia, in Austria, in Switzerland, and we've gone out to those places and said, "For 1 hour of your time, we'd love to get feedback on our bikes and talk to you." In all cases, it took effort from us, but if you open the channel of conversation, they're there, and they do want to talk to you, and especially the vocal ones, the ones that use it the most. Yeah.
You see the difference regarding the getting feedback online and offline?
If it's anonymous, it's terrible. Like, to be honest with you, right? Like replies to social media, replies to things where people are anonymous or they're just trolling. Like, no, it's not useful. But when you have a one-on-one interview and you say to someone, "I really, really want to know what you think," and it really will make a difference in our process. I've never had anybody turn it down or be rude about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to, I mean, it's not specifically about cars, it's probably more to do with marketing and customer experience. But you talked about delighting customers, building relationships. Uh, this is what I found as a conference organizer, as a private person, a citizen, customer. So, there is a service you pay for to your bank, to your telecom provider, for your IPTV, to these slides that we are using, to this survey. And somehow somebody there at bank or wherever, they think that it's a great idea to send you a newsletter like twice a week. And it's not that that is very annoying, because I don't want an intimate relationship with my bank. I just want the app to work and my internet banking and make my payments easier. Uh, but in a newsletter, they will tell you a story about saving the planet, and we are now reducing
reducing CO2 emissions and BS like that. And then the second sentence is, and if you upgrade to this package for only this 99, it's gonna, and it's really annoying. I find that really annoying. And I can't figure out why these people do this. And it's like, I mean, I can't name an example of a company, of a service company, a utility that is not doing that. So it's a ubiquitous, omnipresent threat. I can't figure it out.
I guess my response to you is that it must work or they wouldn't do it. Number one, right? I think people, because companies don't do things that don't work. But number two, why does it work? And how do we say, I prefer not to have that? So for newsletters, yeah, I mean, I get a lot too. I unsubscribe for them and then ask me why I actually write it there. I don't like getting your newsletters now. Actually, say my job is to tell them why, and I tell them why. But I guess these things work as sales tools. But the question is, are they worth it for the brand image? And I can't answer that. But if you're annoyed by XYZ company because of their newsletter, then I don't think they help their brand image, even if they got a sale. And that's important to weigh that out. I can't weigh that for everybody. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm in that boat. I have the same thing. But a tip for you that I'm not afraid to find the product person on LinkedIn who's responsible for the product. And I will go find them and I will connect them and I will write them a message and I'll use my LinkedIn chat points or whatever the heck they're called to just say, hey, I got some feedback for you. I think this is neat. I ended up talking to somebody at Polestar, which is part of Volvo, simply because I found them on LinkedIn. I have some feedback for you guys. Here it is. And she was super nice. And now we have like a conversation and see each other at a conference. And so I don't think it's a problem to find people on LinkedIn and ask them questions. A lot of times they just don't know.
The last question.
Thank you. It's a great presentation, by the way, Jeffrey. Delighters. So delighters can be a tricky thing if we do not also manage their release. So how do you do that, and how do you actually time the release of and the production, let's say, of delighters for the future generations of products?
Yeah, I guess that is again up to whoever is doing releases and bundling features into units or whatever you do in your company. But I would say too many delighters is a problem, but not enough is also a problem. And I can't say for you what it would be. I would say in the car world, we tend to put one that you can see and one that you can't see in every vehicle. So in Nevada, you will see some things up front that you can see when you first sit, and then there are some hidden ones that you find in compartments and things like that that are really important. But yeah, flooding them won't work, but not having them, I think you won't get that boost in the brand. But we were really surprised that if you start to train somebody that you put these delighters in, then they also come to expect them. And so now that Volkswagen did this with the ID Buzz, I expect that people will start looking for little Easter egg things in the rest of their cars, and that will become a thing. So yes, if you're going to start something, you will continue it. Maybe it doesn't need to go forever, but it needs to be something that people expect to look for. But it's really shocking how, sorry if I say this and we're online, maybe I'll lose my job. It's not a very exciting car, okay? It's not that interesting. Volkswagen's trying. I have empathy for them, yes, but they took something that was only marginally interesting and made it super interesting for reviewers, which made it super interesting for consumers. And so that's what the delighter does. People start looking for something where they wouldn't normally look, and they would have done a 30 to 40-second review. They did an 8-minute review looking for these delighters. So I think it's about pushing the limit a little bit there, but not overdoing it. And then, like I said, we put two kind of areas into each car.
But since the current delighters are actually creating expectations for the future ones, how do you ever hope to plan up the delighters that you have in the pipeline for the future?
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely in the backlog, and sometimes they don't work. And then also sometimes at the end we'll decide that last time we decided this wasn't good enough, and we need another one, and we one from the backlog, held the release, put the delighter in, ship the release. So that's where the humans come in. The AI is not gonna fix that for us, but that's something where you have to make the call on what you think pushes the edge of the delighters.
A big applause for Scott. A small delighter for me is the precision of you guys. So have a great lunch, and I will see you in 61.